Welcome back to The Explainer. We're jumping right into part 8 of our 10-part series on AI security. Today, we're tearing down the Red Team 80 Adversary Playbook and translating it into a rock-solid, structured methodology for GenAI security testing. If you're a security researcher or a penetration tester, grab your notes because this explainer is built specifically for you. We're zeroing in on Chapter 8 of the playbook to see exactly how real-world attacks are structured and how we turn those individual test results into repeatable, highly actionable findings.
Look, we are moving way beyond just ad hoc prompting or trying to trick a chatbot for fun, right? We're looking at a rigorous methodology built for professionals tackling production GenAI deployments. This is all about mapping the OWASP LLM top 10 directly into structured, actionable probes based on the heavy-hitting methodologies laid out in Chapter 8.
Here is exactly how we're breaking it down today. 1. Rules of GenAI engagement. 2. The prompt card anatomy. 3. Uncovering the system prompt. 4. Exploiting excessive agency. And finally, number 5. Full kill chain execution. Let's get right into it.
Starting off with Section 1, Rules of GAI Engagement, focusing on scope and boundaries.
So, before you even think about touching a keyboard, the playbook lays out some absolute non-negotiable rules of engagement. Now, traditional pen testing rules, they apply perfectly here. You know the drill: obtain written authorization, test and staging, report criticals within 24 hours. But here's the crucial twist for GenAI. You must log every single prompt and response verbatim. Seriously, if you can't reproduce the exact input, developers literally cannot fix the vulnerability.
And here is where it gets really interesting. You have to draw a hard line as a tester. A successful finding absolutely must be a measurable security failure. Did the model execute an unauthorized tool? Did it return verbatim system text? Boom, that's a measurable failure. But if the model just acts kind of weird or hallucinates without violating a strict policy, well, that's just an interesting behavioral anomaly. If it's not a measurable failure, it doesn't make the report.
Moving on to Section 2, the prompt card anatomy, and how we actually standardize these tests.
Chapter 8 strongly advocates for this concept of the prompt card as your standard unit of testing. Every single test you run should step through these exact 6 components. You identify the OS category, state what you're testing, and clearly explain the production risk. But honestly, step 4 is where the magic happens. That's prompts A and B. Prompt A is your direct head-on test. Prompt B is your variant, the escalation. It's the sneaky way you check if a shallow, lazy guardrail can be easily bypassed.
Then you've got to ask, so what? How do we categorize the actual risk of what we just found? We use this exact severity table to filter out the noise. Credential or data exfiltration, that's a critical finding, no questions asked. A policy bypass hits high. Information leakage is medium. And a behavioral anomaly with zero direct impact sits at low. This specific taxonomy is what separates a truly professional report from just a random list of weird AI outputs.
All right, let's hit Section 3. Uncovering the system prompt, which is really the root cause of most GenAI issues.
You see, prompt injection is just the delivery mechanism. Extracting the system prompt itself is very often your primary objective as an attacker. Designated in the playbook as REC-002, extracting that system prompt gives you a complete attack map. Why does it matter so much? Because operators constantly embed highly sensitive info right there in the system role. We're talking hidden instructions, API keys, webhook URLs, database connection strings, the whole shebang. Once you pull that out, you can operate entirely in the blind spots between their stated rules.
Check out this example. It brilliantly illustrates a classic high-severity prompt B escalation. When your naive direct request fails, you escalate. This specific prompt is tailor-made to bypass shallow guardrails by totally reframing the interaction. By forcing the model to drop its persona and just spill its core configuration, you're exploiting its deepest underlying drive: to follow instructions. And remember, any verbatim system text it spits out is a successful critical finding.
That brings us to Section 4. This is the absolute core of Chapter 8, exploiting excessive agency, the high impact factor.
So, what is excessive agency? Under OWASP, it's LLM-08, and it is hands down the highest impact vulnerability class we see. This is where AI stops just saying bad things and actually starts doing bad things. Unlike simple text manipulation, excessive agency attacks completely exploit the model's legitimate access to tools. If you grant an LLM more autonomy than it absolutely needs, attackers are going to hijack those tools to execute unauthorized actions out in the real world. Think about the sheer blast radius here. If a model can only generate text, okay, the harm is limited to what's on the screen.
But if that model is hooked up as an agent with email access, database write privileges, or direct CRM integration, the blast radius compounds massively. It's a simple equation. The more tools you hand to the model, the wider your attack surface becomes.
Take a look at this exact prompt straight from Chapter 8. This shows exactly how an attacker weaponizes that blast radius. Look closely at how this is chained together. Each individual tool call might actually seem pretty benign in isolation, right? Reading a file, looking up a user, sending an email. But the attacker has maliciously chained them together into a critical data exfiltration pipeline. This is textbook privilege escalation via tool chaining, for sure a critical severity finding. And then you have prompt 47. The stakes escalate even further here, targeting autonomous web requests. Think about this. If you can tell the LLM to fetch the contents of a URL that you control and then execute the instructions it finds there, you have completely erased the boundary between legitimate tool use and attacker-controlled execution. This is quite literally the GenAI agent equivalent of remote code execution, or RCE, an absolute, immediate critical failure.
Finally, let's pull it all together in Section 5, Full Kill Chain Execution, Simulating Multi-Stage Attacks.
This is Chain 06, the full kill chain simulation. This perfectly maps out a compounding attack over time. Phase 1 is your recon, fingerprinting the model, extracting the system prompt. Phase 2 is initial access, bypassing those guardrails. Phase 3 uses the schemas you just extracted for privilege escalation. Phase 4 chains those tools together for data exfiltration. And then, Phase 5 achieves persistence by planting a poison document right into the RAG pipeline, meaning you maintain access long after the session ends. A deployment that fails at Phase 1? That's a well-hardened system. But a deployment that allows an attacker to casually stroll all the way to Phase 5 has massive systemic security failures. So I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to take back to your teams. If a focused adversary ran this structured 5-phase kill chain against your GenAI deployment today, at what exact phase would your current monitoring actually detect and stop them? Keep testing, keep it structured, and thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. See you next time.